Thank you for viewing this Alaska Land mobile radio training presentation on radio frequency safety awareness. In this presentation, we will review radio frequency energy and exposure considerations and help give ALMR users some practical safety tips and habits while using radio frequency equipment. Radio frequency energy, or RF, is energy that is electromagnetic and emitted from radio antennas while you're transmitting, for example, from your subscriber unit or radio. RF propagates outward towards the nearest ALMR tower site. RF energy from ALMR radios is similar to the signals that are used for Wi-Fi, cell phones, broadcast TV, and other types of transmissions. It's important to understand that RF energy is a type of radiation. However, it is not ionizing. Therefore, it is not like an X-ray or a similar type of ionizing radiation which can cause damage to cells and other parts of the body. Radio frequency from properly used radios that are in good working order is not considered hazardous. Exposure to RF energy occurs when you are using radio equipment that is transmitting. It does not occur while listening or monitoring radios. There are two different variables that determine your exposure to this energy: transmit power and distance from the antenna. We talk about RF exposure because there are effects on the human body. As we discussed a moment ago, they are not ionizing radiation, but they can produce a mild warming in cells and parts of the body. Therefore, we review these variables to help reduce exposure and understand the tool that you use every day. Transmit power is the first variable, and that simply indicates how much power the radio is using to transmit your messages. A portable radio typically transmits with much lower power than a mobile radio mounted in a vehicle. The other factor is distance from the antenna. Distance from the antenna utilizes something called the inverse square law. The further away that you get, even by a few inches from an antenna, the more your exposure is reduced. Distance from the antenna can be distance from a portable radio antenna, a mobile radio antenna, and the type of antenna and direction it transmits also affects the energy exposure. Some radio antennas are very directional, while most antennas that people see on portable and mobile radios for ALMR are omnidirectional, meaning that the energy is going out in a larger pattern rather than just one specific direction. The FCC designates specific absorption rate limits for U.S. radios, and those limits have a large safety margin built in to ensure that there is no harm to radio users. The maximum permissible exposure is the mandated limit that is set, again, below where biological harm has been previously demonstrated through exposure to RF energy. Although radio units are certified to work within these specific absorption rates and the maximum permissible exposures, it is important to note that these are radios that are in good working order and correctly maintained. Damaged radios or equipment that has not been installed or programmed properly may have different rates of absorption or may not work as designed. In addition to making sure that your radios are in proper working order, there are some practical safety tips to keep in mind when using radios. First of all, carry the radio properly and keep the antenna away from your body when transmitting, especially your face and your eyes. The antenna should point upward and away from the body. Don't transmit with a radio in your pocket where the antenna might be against the torso or your body. Use radio holders or straps as appropriate to direct the antenna away. Remember the inverse square law. Even a small distance, like an inch, will significantly reduce your radio exposure. Make sure external antennas are centered on the vehicle roof and away from occupants. By far the most important factor to remember is to never transmit with a damaged antenna. That can significantly expose you to RF energy. Replace antennas immediately if there's any damage, especially portable radio antennas that are subject to wear and tear. Some radio frequency technicians receive special training for high energy areas such as tower and antenna sites. Don't enter a posted RF zone without obtaining the proper safety information. If you use medical implants, don't carry a transmitting radio directly over the implant. Although most implants now are designed with radio frequency interference in mind, always be sure to consult your physician or the manufacturer of the device for information about using radios with an implant. Finally, be aware that there are some spaces, especially confined spaces and metal spaces, that can reflect and concentrate RF energy. So be aware of special use cases in those areas. If you have any questions about this training, please don't hesitate to contact the ALMR Help Desk or Operations Management Office for assistance.